Welcome to the Steelers Depot Monday live stream here on this Monday, May 29th. Happy Memorial Day to everybody out there. As always, Alex Kozora and Dave Bryan here with you guys for probably a little less than an hour today. We'll kind of play things by ear based on how many people are asking questions and all those types of things. But we did want to keep on our schedule and go live today on this Monday, since it had been a couple of weeks, which had been a little bit quieter for Pittsburgh. Still some signings. Marcus Golden, the most significant one. Steelers back at OTA. So I wanted to discuss that with you guys. Dave, how you doing? Thanks for being here.
Doing good. What you did? You didn't tell me what you ate when you went over to family's house.
Yeah, just the classic cookout stuff: burgers, dogs, potato salad, all that fun stuff.
All right. What did everybody in the chat eat today?
Yeah, let us know.
Yeah, let us know what all you did today here. So probably going to be a thinner crowd tonight for obvious reasons, but we just want to stay on the schedule here. So happy Monday, everybody.
Yeah, happy Monday. Thank you to the 20 people who are here. If you guys could like the video, that will bring in more people that may not see it. It's all part of that complicated YouTube algorithm. And you guys can always watch an archive version of this a bit later on Steelers Depot. I want to thank the people I see in the chat right now, and Christopher, Rick, fellow Alex, and John Pennington, who's always in these chats. Let me pull back up the live chat here. Oh, it's being weird, not letting me do it. There we go. Also, we got Max and Mark and Mutated Genome. So we'll dive right on into the questions and then probably wrap things up when the questions start to run out. But Alex says, are you guys expecting the Steelers to add anybody else that can play slot cornerback? I would say not right now. Potentially at cut down time, late August trade. And then when teams, remember, there's no cut downs throughout the preseason. It's 90 to 53, so there's going to be a slew of players cut basically all at once. I could see somebody added then, but I think this team will take the group it has to camp, see how it looks, see how it shakes out, and proceed from there.
Yeah, look, historically, after OTAs, we got a bit of a history there. This team adding players at some point during the offseason that wind up on the 53-man roster. So stay tuned. I don't think they're done, and I think slot could most definitely be a position that they look to add to. So I mean, obviously nobody knows for sure, but I mean, if you're going to add at this point, I think slot would have to be high on the list, right?
Yeah, I think there's still a need there, still a concern. It seems like Chandon Sullivan, the veteran corner's getting the first look at those slot reps. I don't know if he's the guy that you really want to roll into week one with. Duke Dawson may be in the mix as well, a pedigree guy, second-round pick who has not really played NFL action since 2020, but I think you're going to keep your eyes peeled in that situation now, and of course, if any guys become available later this year. Let's see, also have Javi Berg 420, Steel Pastors here, Paul, and Captain Spartan. So some familiar names hanging out with us on this holiday extended weekend, so appreciate that. John Pennington says, hello, Dave and Alex. What players do you think need to step up on defense, including practice squad players who have been around a while or be let go? So I guess it's kind of more of the unheralded names, either back end of the roster, practice squad types. What guys do you think on defense have to step up, Dave?
Well, besides, the obvious, the rookies and all, will be interested to watch those guys during the rest of the summer here. Interested to see what kind of jump a guy like Mark Robinson can make, even though it does look like, he remains down on the depth chart based on some of these free agents, especially at the linebacker position there. I'm interested to see. I mean, look, who was it last year? Casey, a guy that we were excited about coming out of training camp and then the preseason, for him to only get injured there in that last preseason game, and unfortunately had to miss the first half of the season there. So it'd be nice to see. And look, when he hit the field, he hit the field about the same time as TJ Watt, and that's when we saw things kind of turn around there. So I think having KZ ready to go at the start of the season could pay some dividends. Oh boy, what's Leal gonna do, right?
Right.
And we think that based on what this team's done this offseason. You would think that he's going to be more of a probably a down lineman type of role. You obviously got some new bodies in there in Faroko and
Watts,
Watts.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, those are another. So that's one thing about this defense. You look at it on paper right now, and they've had a lot of turnover there during the offseason. You got a lot of new guys in there. You're sort of feeling good about it, but you have to see it. And I think several of these players have said, so far during the interviews and OTAs and all, like, communication is going to be huge in all this, especially early on this season. So I don't think you can sit there and just say, one guy. I think it's just a defense as a whole that especially with all these young, with these draft picks and all like that, a new veteran coming in like Patrick Peterson, that it's really the defense, as a whole that, you want to see people step up.
Sure, I think those are all good suggestions. Robinson, one of the first names that came to mind when I read John's question, although they aren't practice squad players per se. Trey Norwood, Isaiah Loudermilk, those guys are in big summers. They got to play well to secure the roster spot. They're bubble guys, the potential outside looking in guys that do not have their names written in pen. In terms of true practice squad types, just to go back to a name we mentioned earlier, Duke Dawson, if he could step up, kind of have a Mike Hilton type of summer where it's just this really loud, impactful performance that really makes you feel good about what you have at slot corner, that would be fantastic. Not that I'm assuming or expecting or counting on that to happen, but if you could have somebody step up in that slot spot, which is a real concern, a guy like Dawson makes a lot of sense. But I think, it's going to be more about the core guys and the new faces, the rookies, the free agents, as opposed to more of the back-end guys. Next question comes from Max Shell. Says, Leal and Connor Hayward seem to be between positions. Who do you think will have a bigger impact this season? Both of them seem to be buried on the depth chart with off-season moves. That's a good question, Max. I'm trying to think. I think Leal will probably play more snaps, and so in that respect, in terms of offense, defense, it may be him, although Connor Hayward should be a multi-phase potential core special teamer. That's a good question. Where are you leaning, Dave?
As far as bigger impact between Connor and Leal?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one. Barring injuries and all, and then once again, we technically don't know. We'll have to see what the plan seems to be for Leal, but I think he has just the way the offseason's gone, to have a better chance of kind of being maybe a sub package guy, and that'll get him on the field for X amount of snaps, and those X amount of snaps will still probably be higher than that of Connor Hayward's there, and be interesting to see, is Connor going to take more, a bigger step towards more fullback stuff. I mean, you look at the tight ends that they have. If you go 2 tight ends on the field, even if you were to go 3 tight ends on the field at the same time, the way things look like they're going right now, Connor Hayward's not going to be part of that. So I would lean to Leal just for the sheer fact that it's going to be interesting to see. Now, look, Connor Hayward's going to play on special teams, as you stated, and it's important for him to make another jump. I thought he was good in special teams last year. Be good to see him take another jump this year. But I think just at its core, primarily because of probably the lack of playing time that Connor Hayward will get on offense, I would lean towards Leal.
I'll go with you on Leal slightly because of that potential sub-package, third down, nickel dime pass rush opportunity for Leal, although I think Leal's game is still really raw and he needs to be a more focused pass rusher with, more go-to moves, not just kind of this athlete that's high energy type to be successful, to translate the physical tools. I think Connor Hayward's a bit more of a natural fit in the Steelers offense under Matt Canada, which at its best and core wants to be multiple, wants to be versatile, but I think maybe there's going to be more volume of snaps for Leal and probably some more key situations, some third down rotational type stuff. But good question there. And someone asked as well, let me find the name here. It was Afton Fared, who said, I think Leal is on the D-line. I don't see him with edge snaps with Golden. we'll have to watch that closely because this will be Golden's first week practicing with the team. Maybe we get some insight there. It felt like that first week Leal was kind of shifting between the D-line group and the edge group. You would expect that with Golden coming in, there's going to be more clarity for Leal to go to D-line, but we'll have to wait and see because in the offseason, Omar Khan made the comments, we like his versatility. We're going to lean on that, so it's still up in the air. All right, next question comes from Mark Watson. What kind of role could Trice carve out? Well, he's got to make the team. I know he's a better than your typical 7th-round pick, but he's still got to make the team. There is no guarantee of that. In terms of role, you got to climb the ladder, special teams. He's gotten gunner work. He's got, I think, jammer capability with his size, his length. Could there be a 60B role later in the year against tight ends? Potentially, but one step at a time, he's got to make the 53 first.
Yeah, and I'm interested to watch that special teams ability of his. That's really going to be up in the air as far as, is Pierre going to be one of those gunners, and can he make Pierre's role pretty much expendable, which is isn't hard to do other than the special teams play. But barring injury right now, at least in the front half of the season there, you wouldn't expect a guy like Trice to get on the field much. But I'm with you. I mean, let's get him. Let's see him make the 53-man roster and then go from there. I mean, you got to like his chances, as long as he stays healthy and all like that. Because I mean, all the talk has been since the draft is, man, I can't believe the Steelers got a guy like Trice in the 7th round when they got him there. So hopefully he can stay healthy. Hopefully that physicality shows up on special teams, and that should, quote unquote, lead to at least a 53-man roster spot. And, maybe that makes a guy like Pierre expendable.
And hopefully physically he's good. I know he's healthy right now, but he has been dogged by injuries throughout his college career. Some big stuff, some small stuff. And obviously you can't make the club from the tub, as they say. So that's always one key important part of it. Mutated Genome says, hello, Alex and Dave. On the Le'Veon Bell topic, you guys think the Steelers will welcome him back with open arms after he admitted to being high on the job? I'm sure he wasn't the first, but still, it's a fair point. I just think so much time has gone by that, all can be forgiven, all can be forgotten, and you kind of focus on the good than some of that bad. And again, we're talking, 15-minute press conference. He signs a contract, takes some photos. We're not saying put this guy in the Hall of Honor or throw a parade for him or retire his jersey. It's going to be a ceremonial type thing that kind of maybe, create some good closure for both sides and make sure everyone knows that everything's cool. So point taken. I know, Dave, maybe you think it'll happen later than sooner. I'm not really sure where I come in. I think maybe it could happen sooner than later if Bell officially retires. He's got to do that. But I think they're all bridges that can be mended.
Yeah, like I said this morning on the podcast, if it does happen, I'm not expecting it. I think we're still talking a couple of years from now, and that'll put these comments that he made most recently even further in the rearview mirror. I hope people aren't taking kind of what we said this morning as us saying get the press conference scheduled this summer. Because that's not what we were saying. What I was specifically saying was I thought it was a good first step in getting some of this out there and getting kind of back in good graces, especially with Steelers fans overall, first and foremost. And then, we'll see how the rest plays out from there. But in no way, shape, or form I would be shocked if anything like that, even if he was to announce his retirement tomorrow. I think we're still a couple of years away from any sort of recognition or press conference retirement or something along those lines.
Sure, it's not going to be this summer. I think the earliest will be next summer because again he has to retire and he's still kind of musing about maybe I'll keep football open. He's staying in shape with his boxing career to some degree. So it's still at least a year, maybe more away. And as you said, those kind of comments will be forgotten about. You talk about it right now because it is so fresh. It is so raw. All right, Paul Brown says, what makes me nervous about the season is we're an injury away in the secondary or outside linebacker to be in real trouble. I still don't think the offense can keep up with a high-flying offense if any D goes out. Yeah, I mean, depth can only be so good in so many positions. I think Golden was a pretty key signing to give yourself some veteran productivity there as opposed to relying on Nick Herbig or letting him and Roche and Perales battle things out. So my concern with the defense is all those new pieces, and could you have those growing pains the offense went through a year ago when you got new inside linebackers, new strong safety, new slot corner, just a lot of new in general. It's a lot of roster turnover. Maybe better in the long run, but in the short term, you may get some of that pain as the guys get adjusted.
I mean, you could go around the NFL when it comes to depth, right? And
Sure.
and say that I imagine he was really nervous a year ago when it comes to the Steelers. I mean, you're looking at Malik Reed as the next guy up, and even though you had several, you went out and signed guys like Levi Wallace and a killer. I mean, they got into that depth pretty deep because of injuries there for a couple of games, didn't they?
Remember Ryan Anderson? Remember him playing like a couple of snaps?
And who was the other one? Jack Johnson or Jackson? Who was the other one?
Oh man,
ended up the Green Bay cast off.
Yeah, the name is not even coming to mind right now, but I know who you're talking about.
I mean, he even saw games because Sutton didn't Sutton leave a game with
Josh Jackson, the secondary.
Josh Jackson,
yep,
right.
I got you.
And didn't we even see Elijah Riley get some snaps?
Yeah, that was that Bucs game when like everybody but Edmonds was out, and they beat Tom Brady of all things.
Right. So I mean, it just goes to show. I mean, are you ever really deep enough? In today's NFL with the salary cap. Now, at least look, you went out and got a guy in Marcus Golden. They drafted not only one but two cornerbacks on top of going out there and signing Patrick Peterson, and so. I mean, but depth, you can talk about depth every offseason and it potentially being one or two injuries at certain positions. Now, here's one thing, they didn't have the depth on the offensive line last year either, but they got damn lucky as far as that goes, and they made sure that they're better set up, overall about that. So, I mean, once again, I think you could have the same conversation every offseason, but due to the salary cap and like that, it's hard to be perfectly deep at every position.
Remember Quincy Wilson? Didn't he play for a hot second too in that game? Yeah, I mean, there have been some guys who have played the last two seasons. You had Delonte Scott a couple of years ago. That D-line got real thin, in 2021? I'm trying to think about some of the names that played. Mondo was getting snaps. I mean, it was pretty bad. So, teams will be tested. I think the depth overall defensively is adequate. Again, I think some of the newness is my chief concern there. Captain Spartan 04, just a hypothetical. We're in that part of the offseason. Which middle linebacker would you rather pursue in 2024? I say Isaiah Simmons or Logan Wilson. I think in terms of the better player, it's Logan Wilson by a country mile, but he's going to be more expensive. I mean, he'll be like a top market type of dude. Simmons will probably be cheaper because his career's not gone great, and Arizona's having their fire sale right now. So it just kind of depends on what side of the coin you want to look at. I would still take Wilson, give me the proven guy, get a real top-tier off-ball linebacker in Pittsburgh that they kind of haven't had in since really Ryan Shazier.
Yeah, but Simmons could be more of a guy, a cheaper schematic fit for certain situations.
Yeah, I mean, he's that ultra athlete coming out, but I'm coming to find that some of these guys that are really good athletes coming out of college, Devin Bush, Devin White, Isaiah Simmons, don't necessarily pan out perfectly. Now, White's been better than those guys, but he's still probably not a great coverage backer. So sometimes I get concerned with those kind of positionless type players defensively.
Look, I'm tired of this line every offseason.
I know.
Go get one or two linebackers. I think where we sit right now, and we'll obviously see how the season plays out. But you would have to think inside linebackers got to be right, climbing back up towards the top of the quote unquote want/need department when it comes to the 2024 class.
You would think so. We've been saying that for a little bit now, but, eventually they got to draft somebody. I know that not all their draft picks have worked either. Devin Bush, Buddy Johnson was a very forgotten miss, like a terrible, like a 4th-round guy, but just a complete whiff. But you still got to draft, develop. That's been the motto. The free agency musical chairs game is getting kind of annoying.
It just goes to show you how bad a 1st-round miss can hurt you. You know?
Yeah. I mean, Devin Bush was the guy, and then he was not the guy.
You continue. It's been a continuous cycle of chasing your tail. You know, and we don't know that they're not done doing that right now with guys like Holcomb and a Landon Roberts, right?
I still think Mark Robinson will start over Roberts week 1. I think Holcomb's going to be your 3-down guy based on his skill set and the contract he got, but I think Robinson gets the nod over Roberts, and I think we look at Roberts and say, it's not a lot of money, but we sit there and say, really didn't do anything for you. He might provide some special teams value, but not a guy that I think it was a mistake to sign that guy.
Well, it would be a nice, helpful back-end offset for the whole Bush thing if Robinson comes alive.
Yeah, we're getting kind of Senquez, Golson, Mike Hilton vibes. You miss on Golson, but you get Hilton. You miss on Bush, you might find something in Mark Robinson, but we'll see. Chester Pinkney has a generous $10 super chat and a very nice comment. Says, best Steelers podcast on the planet. You guys are amazing. Dave, I've been with you since year 1. And so that was when the earth was cooling. You and Chester were hanging out.
Yeah. I hope his bare feet are okay. Back when we used to had to etch the podcast in vinyl, disc and all like that way back when.
Yeah, hieroglyphics aren't some sort of native language. It's just me trying to write and no one understanding my writing. That's all that hieroglyphics are. Just a little fun fact for you guys. Let's see. Steel Pastor says another inside linebacker would be great as well. Yeah, depth feeling a little bit tight there. Also says, question, does the new kickoff rule lead to many more squib style kicks, or maybe even punters maximizing hang time? I'm not sure about the punter hang time comment, but with the kickoffs, yeah, you may see more squibs, although I think the unpredictable nature of the squib kick will make some teams, weary of trying to use that too often. Ball goes out of bounds, takes a weird hop. It's kind of hard to really anticipate, where things are going. So I think teams will generally have the same kickoff approach. You're just going to see some fair catches.
That was your terrible take today, wasn't it?
Yes, not happy with that. You guys might be shocked to know I don't like this rule change. Hopefully it gets revisited. I'm cool with the XFL thing. I think that's a great way to eliminate those car crashes.
They've had a couple of big returns that way too.
Right,
several of them. Reduces
the risk of concussions, and it still allows kick returns to be an exciting and integral part of the game. To me, it's a win-win. And Sean, a similar question here: are you guys concerned about the new kickoff rule? Not just about the role of special teams, but the fact that Steelers like to use special teams to see undrafted players. Yeah, to an extent, it's going to impact those jobs. I mean, they know this rule's coming. They can construct their roster with that in mind as they cut this thing down from 90 to 53 in late August. And so everyone kind of has that thought. And there's still punt, work and other things to and there are going to be still some kick returns. I think the NFL is estimating 31%. And some teams may... If you have a good return team, you may not call fair catch. You say, let's run this thing out and try to get past 25. So it's not necessarily an auto fair catch situation depending on the team you're facing. But yeah, there's going to be an impact there. No question, Sean. David Muse says Washington will be a Pro Bowl tight end. That's some Darnell Washington hype. Question for you, Dave. Thomas R. says, hey, Alex, I believe Steelers have $8 to $9 million free. Is this money for a possible Highsmith extension or maybe another outside signing? Love from L.I. Give us a thought there on Highsmith.
Yeah, here's the thing to remember about that right now is the fact that Highsmith's already counting, I think, $2.951 million against the cap as is. So a new deal, it's not like you're starting from zero again and having to afford that. You just have to be able to afford the increase of how much his cap number goes up from 2.951 million. And, in the projection that I did back in, I don't know, what was it, early April or something like that, on a 2-year extension on, I think, on a new money average of slightly more than 15.5 million, I have a Highsmith's new cap number coming in at around 6.458 million. So let's assume my numbers are right. They won't be, but let's they should be close. I think if this gets done the way I think it's going to be done. But just on my example alone, you'd have to be able to accommodate an increase in Highsmith's cap number of 3.5 million, and they'll easily be able to do that. So I just can't envision the result of a new deal for Highsmith causing his cap number to go up more than 3.5, 3.6 million. So they're easily in line to be able to do that. Don't forget, probably at some point during the off season, probably right before the season, the Watt restructure will happen. I think now the only question is, when it comes to that, are we going to see a full restructure or just a partial restructure? But I wouldn't worry about the whole Highsmith thing when it comes to them being able to have stuff earmarked for that. I believe that they've had that earmarked all along. If you kind of followed the talk and the writing that I've done as far as the cash versus cap projections for this team this year, and it's easy to have those discussions this year because this is the third year of the 3-year cycle when it comes to the whole 90% cash versus cap rules. So everything lays out absolutely perfectly for some of the examples that I've laid out there with Highsmith, and to hear Omar Khan talk and hear Highsmith talk and all like that. It's going to get done. It's just a matter, I think, of when, and I'm really hoping to see it happen before this team reports to training camp.
Yeah, I think that's very much on the table based on the way Omar Khan has operated in his just over 1 full year on the job. And that was from Tom Rossi from Long Island. That's what LI stood for, so appreciate that. The Thomas R threw me off, but appreciate you hanging out with us.
And don't forget, you've still got some of those, and I wrote about several of those kind of mid-earning, I wouldn't say mid-earning, but the $2 million and more earners right now who aren't guaranteed to make the roster right now. Guys like Montravius Adams, guys like Gunnar Olszewski. We'll obviously see what happens with Dotson. If those guys don't end up making it, they end up being replaced by their spots ultimately go on the 53-man roster to rookies or first-year players or something like that. There's going to be a little bit of cap savings within each one of those players too. So those it takes a few of them, but they add up, and I think you could see this team quickly cover that $3.5 million increase in Highsmith's cap charge just by natural 53-man roster cut down, I guess, attrition you'd call it.
The roster deletion part. Yeah,
right.
That's a great point by you, and that certainly will help and add up, as you said. Tommy Vincent is here, says Happy Memorial Day. He's from Arizona. He does have an unpopular opinion he's bringing, though, so I'll mention that as well in the same breath. He does not see Highsmith being a Steeler much longer. I don't know exactly what that means, if he thinks he's not going to make it to 2023 or not going to get the extension. I think we'll disagree, but that's why it's the unpopular opinion, and we'll see what happens.
I'll be absolutely floored if he does not sign an extension this summer.
Same here. Speaking of roster deletions, J.J. Townsend says, who on this roster could be cut that would be a bit of a surprise day for either of you? So a surprise cut on this team. You wrote about this recently, right, Dave?
Yeah, and it is I put it in there purposefully, even though I don't think it's guaranteed to happen. But what happens if you have a guy like both Trice and Porter just tear it up this offseason? What if Pierre is everything you want in a special teams player? What if they have to go out and get another slot corner and all like that? I guess where I'm going with this is Levi Wallace. Do I think in the end, when the smoke clears, that Levi Wallace will be there? My gut says yes, but would I run out right now and bet my entire house and life savings on it? No, I wouldn't. So if you want to talk about a guy that could be in that surprise category, I think Levi Wallace could fit into there. Now, once again, in my heart of hearts, do I think that's going to happen? No, but stranger things have happened, and especially if you get guys like Porter having a great summer and Trice having a great summer, and you already got Peterson, and I mean a lot of things I think would have to happen, but it's not like Levi Wallace is this huge special teams contributor on top of it. So if he ended up getting bumped, he could get bumped behind Pierre because Pierre had, if Pierre survives, because Pierre's got the special teams ability there. So if you want to circle one guy to at least have fun discussions about, I think it would be Levi Wallace.
Yeah, I get that. Obviously, I don't expect that to happen either. Like you, if you want to get into like the crazy or crazier names, I mean, I could mention, we could all talk about Gunnar Olszewski, Montravius Adams. Those are not surprises. I think even Trey Norwood.
Although I'd be surprised if either one of those guys made it. Though,
right. I mean, I could mention Trey Norwood, Isaiah Loudermilk, but those are less surprises, maybe a little bit more so than the names we just mentioned, and Olszewski and Adams. Let me give you, I'm going to throw out a crazy name because we're live. I'm not writing this down, so it's harder for people to yell at me in the comments but there'll be some, I'm sure. I'm not suggesting this will happen. He was on my initial way too early 53-man roster. But what if Calvin Austin just stinks it up this summer, and he's got a missed rookie year and a poor summer, a couple other receivers coming in. You got Hakeem Butler as a big slot type of guy. I don't want to guarantee Austin's spot until he actually makes some plays in a dang preseason game.
All right, who would be of the controversial guys that we threw out there in Wallace for me and Calvin Austin for you? Who would be the biggest surprise of those two?
To me, it'd be Wallace.
Okay.
To lose another starting corner in a secondary that's had a lot of turnover with some rookies that have potential, but I mean, he's a guy that's a proven NFL player.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong. The question was, who would be more of a surprising guy, right?
Yeah, he just said who might be a surprise cut. That was right,
and I think Wallace kind of fits that,
sure.
Right?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And Austin fits that with you. Now, people are going to turn this into Dave thinks Wallace is going to get cut, and that's not what I'm saying.
I think Austin's going to get cut, which I'm not saying that either.
Right. But, I mean, if you want guys to have discussions about, I think those would be two guys. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see what else we have. In just a couple minutes left. Again, we'll probably wrap things up a little bit early. So we got Game 7. Who do you guys have? Heat or Celtics? Dave, who do you got tonight in a crazy Game 7?
You know what? I don't care, first and foremost. But second of all, I can't stand the Celtics.
No, you don't like Boston?
Growing up, I just could not stand Boston or the Celtics. I just couldn't.
Did you have a basketball team? Did you have an NBA team growing up?
As a kid, it was Lakers, okay. But because the whole Magic and Kareem and all like those, it was fun to kind of follow along with that. But I mean, I don't live and die by that.
Sure. All right, I got you. Captain Spartan, what do you think about bringing, would you be opposed to bringing Jim Leonard with all the Wisconsin guys? Yeah, I think Jim Leonard's a great defensive mind, was a great DC. I don't think he wants to come in to be an assistant coach in some small regard in the NFL. I think there's going to be bigger chances for him wherever he ends up. But yeah, Jim Leonard, if he wanted to come to Pittsburgh, I'd say, yeah, sign here.
Yeah, but he's he got his hands full right now, doesn't he?
I'm not even sure where he's at because didn't he leave Wisconsin? Because he resigned there, I think, right? I'll have to look. I'm not entirely sure Jim Leonard's arc because he was the great DC, and then there was the whole thing about is he going to become the next head coach and replace Paul Chryst, and I want to say he left. I don't know if he went somewhere else. I'm sure you or the chat can let us know. Maybe Jim Leonard information there.
I know that last report he was the interim head coach at Wisconsin, right?
Right, but I'm pretty sure he stepped down for whatever reason, but I'm not following their coaching situation closely, clearly. All right, Ryan McKee says, always a great listen. Thanks for being here, even on a holiday. Keep up the great work. Thank you, Ryan. Do we still foresee an inside linebacker signing or trade coming since they had the guy from the Jets in? That was Quan Alexander. It's possible. They're a little thin there right now. Depends on the name, depends on the fit, but, not counting that out, Ryan.
And it would be a big dollar signing, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, once again, get past OTA or get past mandatory minicamp, and then we'll start resurfacing, the long list over the years of players that have signed or added to the team after mandatory minicamp that went on to make the 53-man roster. So they're coming. We just don't know who they are, I think. And I think it's a good bet that at least one or two players that are not on this roster right now wind up on the 53-man roster. I mean, this is the way it's been for years.
I'm with you. Steelers by the Lake says, with Wallace being in the last year of his deal, do you think Trice could start in 2024? He could, but again, one step at a time. Got to make the team. Got to show he's healthy. He can play. Make a impact on special teams. So possible. Heck, your starters next year could be Joey Porter Jr. and Corey Trice Jr. Wouldn't be shocked by that one bit, but we'll take it one day at a time. Matthew Molina, could someone like Kenny Moore be on the trade block towards the start of the season? I'm not sure what's happening in Colts land. If he was, I think you certainly pick up the phone. Top slot corner in the game. Mike Hilton-like, but probably a better coverage guy than Hilton was. So I'd be all over that. I think Indy's trying to, win as much as they can this year, not get fired. I think Chris Ballard wants to, Shane Steichen, the head coach there, he's fine, but Ballard does not want to lose his job, so you may not want to trade away one of your, best defensive pieces. But if he's on the block, then you certainly would call.
Yeah, but here's the thing: base salary for Kenny Moore this year $7.495 million. So you're not going to bring that on. He would have to get cut by them, I think, for him to be able to land with the Steelers.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, unless you do some sort of either new deal. I don't know if a deal's coming up for him or if maybe a retained salary, but that's probably going to be tougher to do with whatever contract he's on. But just on the player itself, if he's on the block, I think you at least take a look at that.
Mike Hilton's pretty safe over in Cincy still, right?
I believe so. I'm not expecting him to
he's still got,
job.
I think, two more years under contract, I think.
Yeah, so that'd be great as well, but obviously that would take a cut, and I think he's going to be good to be their starting slot corner in 2023. Somebody made a comment, I'm trying to find it here, about Jimmy Morrissey of Houston. That's from Captain Spartan. Would you be opposed to that as a backup center? Was Pickett's college center? Yeah, I like the connection, like where your head's at. They drafted Juice Scruggs and Jared Patterson, so that may push a Morrissey out. He's a smaller guy, and he's got a J.C. Hassenauer type size and lack of length, but I get what you're saying.
Yeah, this team still be interesting to see how the backup center job still washes out here when this thing's all said and done.
Troy Miles, do you guys know how long Weidl is signed on for? They probably get 3-year deals, I'm guessing, for those.
Oh, I don't know. It's not really something that you can read. Right. It's hard to say for sure. I mean, we could throw out a number, but we might be wrong on it,
Right. And of course, if he wants to become a true GM somewhere, the contract really doesn't matter that much. You rip that up and he goes somewhere else. And, he's going to be, if Pittsburgh has a successful 2023 season, he will be a name that's going to be on GM lists for the next cycle. You can count on that. All right, let's see what else we have here. Why do you guys think Green is still on the roster? That's from the Steel Trucker. Because you got to have a 90-man roster. You got to carry at least 15, usually 16 offensive linemen. He's still your draft pick. You got to have somebody out there. He's got a little bit of versatility. So you got to carry a bunch of linemen. They're not all going to be good. And that's why Green's on there right now.
And he's very inexpensive too. So, yep. I mean, just because he and I expected him to last this long. Because he's not that expensive. Now, will he ultimately make the roster? Probably not.
Yeah, I'm certainly not expecting that, but you never know. Injuries happen. Maybe the light turns on. Again, not expecting that, but you hold on to him and you wait and see. Paul Brown asking about Gunner's path being kind of a kick returner. It's hard to be kick return only, especially with these new rules, but he'd have to kind of do both in kicks and punts. What makes a good player, or makes a player a good kick returner versus a good punt returner? That's a good question. I think kick return takes a little bit more long speed, a little bit more kind of fearlessness running into those guys. Kind of, you're both going full speed. Punt return is a bit more about the ball security and judging and securing the football. Both involved with that, obviously. A little bit more, I think, quickness than long speed when it comes to a punt return. So those are probably some of the basic differences between kicks and punts.
Yeah, I'd like to see that get better. We talked about this morning on a podcast. This team ranked down at 30th in punt returns, and what did I say, tied for 24th in kick return. That needs to change. That really needs to change to help this team, get to the playoffs this year.
Yeah, last time I guess Deontay was the last punt return touchdown. Who was the last kick return touchdown? Was it Juju?
Was that Juju
I think it was
against Cleveland?
in the finale. Yeah, I think so. And with the new rules, it may be harder and harder to run those ones back. Steven Sims came close last year, but got to the 10, and then he ran out of gas. Let's see what else we have here. John Pennington, do you think the Steelers and Debo will ever mend fences? What do you think about that, Dave?
Who? James Harrison?
Yep, James Harrison.
Yeah, I don't think there's probably that much animosity right now as it is. Yeah, I mean, I don't see why it's not a huge hurdles to overcome. I don't think.
Yeah, I know things got ugly towards the end. You know, him falling asleep in meetings, kind of forcing his way.
I think that was just business on his side. You know.
Yeah.
Look, I think it's an easier path for him, obviously, than Le'Veon Bell. You know?
Sure, you win a Super Bowl, you know, a lot can be forgiven, and again, time. And I like you said, I don't think things are that bad between the two sides right now. I think if Mike Tomlin and James Harrison saw each other, they'd have a great time together.
Probably would.
Eddie Spaghetti, great name. Eddie Spaghetti says, do you think we get a new punter this year? What do you think?
It could happen.
I'm going to say yes. I'll say Braden Mann beats out Presley Harvin, and also because he can do kicks, and just to kind of save Boss's leg a little bit will help.
And look, you know, it could be a situation like a couple of years ago, right, where you had a couple of them and you went another direction right before the roster got set. So I don't think anybody's job is safe there. What I'm getting at is I think either one of those guys might not be the guy when the dust clears. We'll have to see how the battle goes.
Fair. Omar Khan has kept us on our toes this year, and he's always kind of tweaking the roster a little bit. Last comment, kind of a nostalgia kick here. I want to thank everybody who joined the stream today. Remember Ricardo Coakley and Ike Taylor trying to field kicks? Yeah, they've had some interesting return men. I mean, Ike was fast. You kind of got to see that speed occasionally. But yeah, that's been in some defensive names returning kicks, which you have not heard in quite some time.
Yeah, and Rossum that one year, and oh Lord, they got to get this started. They got to get let's have the same returner for a couple of years that produces. That would be nice.
They finally did that with Ray, I guess, 2 years ago and 3 years ago.
Yeah, but you could. I remember the day that he was the day that he was signed and all. Looking back at his history with the ball secure, and I remember the tweet, ball security with the hyphen in it there, and that ended up kind of being his undoing. That and getting paid, you know, probably a little bit more than he should have got paid by the 49ers and all
Sure.
like that. But yeah, they need to get special teams turned around all the way around.
They do. All right, I lied. Just two quick questions, comments here. How often? This is from Travis Pick. How often do you guys rewatch games from Super Bowl winning seasons? How much do you go down the nostalgia road there, Dave?
It happens, but it's not planned, and it's a byproduct of maybe looking for something and getting easily distracted and going down the rabbit hole there.
I'm the same way. I'm working on a new kind of series, and I'm watching it for clips, and then you kind of start watching it just because you like watching the game. So I'm kind of with you there, Dave. And Steelers by the Lake says, do you guys have any thoughts on who might win the number 3 running back spot? It is wide open right now, isn't it, Dave? I mean, I'm not even sure who the favorite is, McFarland, just based on tenure, but it's probably someone not on this team.
Yeah, and look, he hit, you know, the path right now for him as a return guy might, you know, he's going to be in the lines that you report come training camp if he's still on the roster, right?
Yeah. So it's going to be a big mix with him again, McFarland.
He's going to have to contribute on special teams in some way, shape, or form if he's going to make the roster as the number 3. Plain and simple. You know, you're not going to keep McFarland as the number 3 if he can't get out there in at least one special teams unit to contribute.
And it can't just be kick return because he can do that, but there's not going to be enough value to keep him for that.
Right, so it's why that guy might not be on the roster right now.
Yeah, I think so. All right, we're going to wrap things up here. Appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Memorial Day. Please have a safe and happy rest of the holiday. Dave and I are going to get some stuff ready for the morning. Like I said, new series, a listicle, a top 10 list I like to do each year, kind of a different spin on it. You guys will see what that is in the AM, but you guys can watch an archive version of this on the site a little bit later. Dave, as always, thank you for being here.
Thank you. And thank you for everybody that showed up on this Memorial Day Monday. Have a safe rest of your weekend and peace and love.
Back at OTAs tomorrow, the Pittsburgh Steelers will be there to be around to cover it and talk about everything that they talk about, and that'll go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and we'll come back in a couple of weeks here with a live stream and talk about whatever else is happening in Pittsburgh Steelers land. So appreciate you guys watching. Thank you for everybody that asked questions, gave super chats, liked the stream. Be sure to subscribe to the channel as well for